Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality of the best hair, and after waiting all the way through March of the Clown so I could take care of all of the copyright strikes, I'm currently fighting another copyright strike anyway, so screw it, let's just review Scream 3. Another film from the year 2000, Scream 3 was touted as the big, epic, final chapter of the Scream TRILOGY. That's right, kids, there's only gonna be 3 of these, so you know they're gonna go all out with this one. Let's just ignore the fact that Scream 5 just came out, and they're working on Scream 6. But that's hardly the biggest problem here. The big final end to the series of the trilogy and all that, it wasn't this big planned thing. It was more haphazardly thrown together at the time, and it kind of had a few problems as a result, not the least of which are the fact that they were asked to tone down the violence because of certain events that were happening in the world at the time. Which gave us Scream 3, a considerably milder take on the Scream formula. Neve Campbell returns as Sidney Prescott. For some of the movie. Couldn't get her for all that much, so we mostly focus on the side characters, such as Dewey and Gail, as they scour the set of Stab 3, wondering who is looking to turn this horror movie sequel into reality. So they made Stab 2, and while they were making Stab 3 just kind of started happening. So let's take a look at Scream 3 and see if maybe there's a reason why the redheaded stepchild of the series is now regarded as the redheaded stepchild that you can respect a little. We open up to Cotton Weary, again played by Liev Schreiber, stuck in traffic, but that's hardly his worst problem. He's been written into Stab 3 as a mere cameo appearance, killed off in the opening scene when he's already gained stardom after his heroism in the last movie. Now a famous talk show host. But wait, a mysterious caller calls his, other phone, and she sounds cute.
Now what would your girlfriend say?
What makes you think I have a girlfriend?
I know you do. I'm right outside her bathroom door.
But what's this? The killer's voice changer can change the voice to someone other than Roger Jackson? In this movie and this movie alone, evidently a lot of the fans thought that this was getting a little too science fiction-y for Scream, and Scream is based in reality. It's not like they have like a mask and shroud that can just appear when you flick a little bit on your smartwatch. And I really hope I did not give any studio execs out there any ideas. The voice demands that Cotton reveal to him the whereabouts of Sidney Prescott, or they will kill his girlfriend. So Cotton begins speeding through the streets of LA, desperate to make it home in time. While this is going on, his girlfriend, Christine, played by Kelly Rutherford, hears Cotton calling to her from the hallway.
You're not gonna believe what just happened to me.
What are you talking about?
But it turns out to be Ghostface! Because of the voice changer thing, we've covered this. She does slip away, but that just gives us another chance to establish that she truly believes Cotton is trying to murder her. What with what he keeps talking about.
Talking about how much fun it's gonna be to rip your insides out!
I can understand, it's like a crossover between Blade and Sorcery and Surgeon Simulator. So while Cotton tries to murder Christine, Cotton returns home, where everything is all silent and spooky. Cotton believes he can hear Christine, but she's not answering, so he must break down the door to make sure she's all right. However, she's not listening to this madman and goes The Last of Us Part 2 on his ass.
Behind you!
But as we could all figure, hey, Cotton's not Ghostface. Shocker, 3rd movie in a row where he's not the killer. But instead, he is a mere cameo, killed off in the opening scene. That way we can move on to Sydney. She's not important yet. Yeah, the events center around her, her family, her past, all that, but she's currently living out in the middle of nowhere, security systems out the wazoo, working as a trauma helpline operator. I guess it does take one to know one.
I have a boyfriend. Sometimes he hits me.
Well, I'm not gonna make a joke there. I'm an asshole, not a monster. She's not gonna be important for like another hour or so, so let's move on to Gail. She's made even more money and become even more famous off of even more books about even more murders.
Well, tell me, Miss Weathers, was it worth it?
I don't know, Richmond, Mr. Arquette. Courtney Cox gets to be Gail Weathers, a major character in the Scream franchise, now 3 movies in a row, whereas you play, student. Oh, but you are still getting work. You were in a movie in 2020, Mank, where you played Heckler. And talk about being typecast. But after Gail's lecture, she is approached by the police. None more important than Detective Kincaid over here, played by Patrick Dempsey. Cotton has been murdered, and whoever did it left a clue. And I love when psychos play easy to get. The cops are stumped, but maybe Gail, in her wicked Woodsboro ways, can figure out what it is.
This is Maureen Prescott. This is Sidney Prescott's mother.
Still played by Lynn McRae. Yeah, they actually got photos of her as a younger actress to play her character in a younger role. Cotton was murdered in Hollywood, though, where Sunrise Studios just so happens to be filming Stab 3, the fictional spin-off of the real events, because in this universe, movies based on real events actually aren't completely made up on the spot. But the politicians are getting angsty. Maybe Stab 3 isn't such a great idea in this climate.
So if we stop making scary movies, what, all the psychos in the world will retire? Come on.
Well, it'd certainly make my job a hell of a lot harder. The young man is the director, Roman, played by Scott Foley, where Lance Henriksen over here plays John Milton, the producer.
Detectives, there's no reason to presume that Cotton's death had anything to do with this movie, is there?
He was making a movie called Stab. He was stabbed.
And this is Josh Page, who plays the irritable officer, Detective Wallace, who insists on investigating all leads, no matter how ironic. The cast isn't the most excited about this turn of events either. Introducing Dionne Richmond playing Tyson, who plays Ricky in Stab 3, Matt Kiesler as Tom Prinz as Dewey, Jenny McCarthy as Sarah Darling as Candy, and Emily Mortimer as Angelina Tyler as Sidney Prescott.
I'm starting to see why Tori Spelling and David Schwimmer didn't want to come back.
Yeah, convincing big stars to come in for 15 minutes for a short cameo and a big fat paycheck is a lot easier than saying, hey, why don't you come in for a whole damn movie? I mean, come on, Neve Campbell didn't even do that. So yeah, people are dying, but you know what? Good work is hard to come by these days, and they need the job. But none more than Parker Posey over here, who plays Jennifer Jolie, who plays Gail Weathers. And she is super serious about her role. She's even gotten pointers from David Arquette. He plays, oh, well, you know.
Dewey.
Working as an advisor for Stab 3. I can't fault the guy, it's gotta pay better than limping. So you know how they hit it off in the first movie, only to have Gail's ruthless ambition ruin that by the second? Guess what? After hitting it off in the second, Gail's ruthless ambition ruined that again. So Dewey's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again.
Wait a minute, where is Detective Kincaid? I am working with Kincaid, Dewey.
Rules are rules, Gail. But really, it was great seeing you.
And while we're on the topic of knowing how to portray each character, evidently the writers for this movie really didn't know that too well, so Wes Craven himself had to step in and rework a lot of the dialogue because the characters were not behaving like themselves. But we're getting lost in all this Hollywood glamour. Let's pop over to Sydney's place real quick so she can talk about the heart of Scream, the real thread weaving all the movies together.
Your mom?
None of this would ever happen if she hadn't
fucked oh so many people. It's like, wow, geez, woman, close your legs, save the town from a couple of killing sprees. Her father, still played by Lawrence Hecht, is like, come on, stop hiding away for most of the movie. It's not something. But Sydney's like, nah, I like being far away from anything that might want to kill me. But she still has her mind, which is not doing all that great, giving her visions of her dead mother out the window. But it's all just a dream! And that actually means you're safe in this Wes Craven movie. But enough about Sydney, no one really cares what's going on with her. No, we gotta check up on Sarah here. She's been called into Roman's office for a meeting, but oh darn it, he's running late. Not to worry, you can call her up and they can spitball back and forth about the movie.
Since I got you on the phone, let's talk about your character, okay?
What character? I'm Candy, the chick who gets killed second. I'm only in 2 scenes.
Okay, is every character in this movie just going to announce what order they get killed in shortly before it happens? Guess what? As she goes back and forth with Roman reading the script, Roman begins changing the dialogue to indicate he intends to make a completely different movie.
My movie. And it's called Sarah Gets Skewered Like a Fucking Pig.
Rated PG-13. So she must run! But oh darn it, there's a shadow over there, not safe. Better go to the wardrobe and hide in the big row of ghost-faced costumes instead. Wouldn't you know it? That just so happened to be quite possibly the perfect hiding place for Ghostface, who easily bests Sarah. And hey, prop weapons aren't supposed to be lethal. Very gingerly, very subtly stabbing. She could still have an open casket funeral after this. But while she's off being ripped apart, Gail is off getting her heart ripped out by Dewey. Not for the relationship thing, but how after she left him, now she finds him gallivanting off with another Gail. In quite possibly the most literal sense we've ever seen.
Brace yourself, Gail. All of this is actually not about you.
No, but with Neve Campbell on the sidelines, this movie is a lot more about Gail than any of the others have been. But on that mystery, seems there was someone calling up the station asking for Sydney's files for bullshit reasons. They denied it, but then someone broke in and busted into the file room shortly thereafter.
Someone stole Sid's file?
I already removed it.
That's right, Deputy Riley here, Woodsboro's #1 badass. Hold your applause. Anyway, gotta go. Can't believe it's not Gail needs Dewey. They just got word that Sarah has been killed, but even worse.
Someone's killing them in the order they die in the movie.
Dewey, who gets killed third?
No, Gail! I really don't want to see this movie spoiling itself any more than it already has. Spoiler alert, Gail dies next. But as there are 2 Gails, that actually means we don't know which of these ladies are the targets. Not to worry, Dewey's on the case, telling Jennifer's bodyguard, played by Patrick Warburton, what he can do to help. Problem is he's not used to taking orders.
You're just no good as a cop anymore. Your resume reads like the obituaries, so how about you take suggestions from me, aight?
Whose voice you might recognize as Joe Swanson from Family Guy or Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. Even better, as the bodies pile up and the portraits keep coming in, we find out, hey, the fake script of the fake movie isn't even a reliable source of clues anyway.
The producers told us that there are 3 different versions of the script, something about trying to keep the ending off the internet.
Right, so to keep the script off the internet, we have to rewrite the entire movie from top to bottom, changing everything. And then watch in horror as it somehow gets on Pirate Bay shortly before the premiere anyway. But wait, they say Sarah was called in by Roman for a meeting, and that's why she was there. To die! Roman's like, no? But they don't believe him, and he is taken to the station. Also, let's just have Kincaid borrow Dewey's phone. For reasons. So, second murder, director just got arrested. Well, this movie looks like it's never being made. Let's have a depressing rap party about how all their careers are effectively over. But wait, Gail has a breakthrough. Through the power of retconning, Maureen Prescott did not live in Woodsboro her whole life. She was gone for a whole 2 years. Where could she have gone? And why is the killer leaving these pictures of her about that age?
If I thought like a homicidal maniac, then I'd know how a homicidal maniac thinks.
Oh god, Dewey's the killer. Dewey just realized that these pictures of young Maureen were in fact taken at Sunrise Studios decades ago. Maureen went to Hollywood. Well, that does it. Dewey needs to call some people. Who? Well, Stone just so happens to get a call from Dewey, right as he's snooping around Dewey's trailer, quite rudely telling him he's looking for killers, because after all, Dewey's just gonna fuck it up and let them kill again.
Like he did your little sister.
What did you say? I can't believe you said that. That makes me angry!
Oh god, Dewey's the killer. Or not, as after Ghostface finishes slapping Stone with a skillet, we jump back to Dewey, still limping about, talking about needing to call people. Though killers do have teleportation powers. Nah, no bother. Everything's just getting all spooky for no reason. I mean, except of course the fact that Stone limps in moments later, dying. That's a pretty good reason right there. So they must run inside, but then the lights are cut and the fax machine starts going off.
The bodyguard stabbed to death. The 5 stand trapped.
He's rewriting the movie.
Okay, so we just fuck off with anything about the script, as now none of the versions of it matter. So they don't know if they should be inside or outside as the fax machine continues spewing drivel about who lives and who dies. And at the end of it all, everyone is fleeing in terror, but Tom refuses to leave the last hint as to who might survive.
Whoever smells the...
So, killer's Charles Darwin. As they roll down the Hollywood hills, they are separated. Dewey must choose between New Gale and Gale Classic. He picks the original and good thing too, as the killer attacks, and he shoots Ghostface again and again, but they escape. Now, Jennifer's not happy, but what's this? Angelina somehow ended up, like, a little bit that way instead.
Are we safe?
Safe from who?
Okay, what the fuck kind of red herring is that supposed to be? I'm real sure that the person that everyone stops and goes, oh, look at them, look, that guy over there might be the killer. I'm sure they're really the killer in your murder mystery, yeah. No time to dwell, though. We have more retconny clues. Now the killer says they killed Maureen, even though we already established Billy and Stu did that in the original movie. Either way, Kincaid demands Dewey deliver Sydney to his door. Something, Sydney must know something because the protagonist's powers or something. But Dewey can't contact her. Because she's already here! Seems after the voice called her up, she realized she wasn't any safer hiding out and decided to say fuck it and leave.
What do you say? Oh, you know, the usual small talk. What's new, how you been, how do you want to die?
I said fighting off an alien invasion with superpowers and drugs, and now here I am in Hollywood. But who was phone? Well, Dewey had Sid's number in memory, but other than Jennifer, only he and Kincaid have had that phone. Anyway, moving on, we find out that Sydney doesn't know squat about her mother's past. Shocker! But still, she'd like a tour, so heading to the set, they are jump scared by, someone.
It's Martha Meek's Randy's sister. Randy's sister?
Played by Heather Matarazzo. Guess it's never too late to introduce a new face we've never seen before, but was totally there the whole time. She's here because, as is Scream tradition, Randy's gotta go over the rules of horror. Problem is they killed him off in the last movie, but before that happened, he just so happened to throw together a little video just in case that series continued. Handy that. And he just so happens to know what it means when they're retconning things left and right and nothing makes sense.
You are not dealing with a sequel. You are dealing with the concluding chapter of a trilogy.
Well, Randy, can't win them all. But that's what we're going with here, so simple rules, nothing makes sense. Characters and backstories are retconned left and right, and the killer now has superpowers, and they have to go over the top if they want to take him out.
You gotta cryogenically freeze his head, decapitate him, or blow him up.
Ooh, wood chipper. So that's Jamie Kennedy's scene for this movie, which is the only reason Martha was here, so she skedaddles for the remainder. On that note, Gail heads off for some investigation. But what's this? Wish.com Gail Weathers shows up and refuses to leave. She is a bit on edge, but also Jennifer is confident that the killer wants the real deal, so as long as she sticks around Gail, of course they're gonna kill Miss Weathers, leaving Miss Jolie relatively unscathed. But who's this?
Hey, are you...
No.
But you look just...
Like her?
Bianca, played by Carrie Fisher. Randy forgot to mention the trilogy rule about all the gratuitous cameos. She's got the info they need. Maureen Roberts never was an actress. Rena Reynolds, however, that's the ticket.
Stage name.
Well, sorry, it gets really tiring spending so much of my life trying desperately to get people to realize how to pronounce the name Robitel. Seems Rena had some roles for John Milton, legendary horror producer, so they must see what he knows. Later, first we gotta give Sydney some actual screen time, running into Diet Sydney, who has the ghost face outfit! May as well add a neon light next to her. Suspect this woman! Anyway, forgot a brush, so Sydney tries to return it only to find her old house as a set! It's got everything her old place had. The garage door her best friend was killed in. Her old bedroom. And, oh yeah, a ghost-faced killer who is chasing her down and trying to stab her to death! So she must run, fighting the killer off and fleeing for her life! She eventually reunites with the police, but when she says the killer's in the house...
Hey, there's nobody up here.
So did the killer slip away, or did she imagine it all? Considering the only time the killer was definitely not actually there was when she was unconscious, I'm gonna go ahead and assume this was real. But now it's time for Dewey, Gail, and Synthetic Gail to confront Milton, who happens to be chatting it up with Roman. Haven't seen him since the police dragged him off earlier. Anyway, after a little back and forth, Milton reveals the shocking truth. Rena Reynolds went to his Hollywood parties, full of directors, drugs, and casting couches.
Maybe they did take advantage of her. You know, maybe the sad truth is, this is not the city for innocents.
Really? Man, who could have seen that coming? In a movie executive produced by Harvey Weinstein. So that revealed a whole lot of nothing. No bother. Sid and Kincaid can hit it off, talking about scary movies and personal demons. And we can skip to tonight, where Dewey, Gail, and Sub-Gail get a call from Sydney. Don't come to her place. She just got word from Milton that there is even more backstory on Mommy Dearest that she just has to hear. So that's where she's going. So that's where they all turn right around and head towards. But when they get there, Sydney's nowhere to be found. Just Roman, Stunt Sydney, and Tyson. Anyway, forget the plot. There's a super secret screening room hidden somewhere in this big ol' house.
I'm gonna go check this place out.
Whoa, just one damn minute. There's a psycho killer on the loose, and you wanna go traipsing around this gigantic mansion?
Well, that's a much easier setup for the climax than trying to convince everyone to go down to the warehouse by the docks. So for safety, they pair up. Roman and differently Gail, Tyson and Angie, and Dewey and Gail, just to mix things up. Roman's like, hey, let's check out the basement, which he does alone as Jennifer isn't following right away, and things get silent. But back with the real Gail, she's like, hey, caller ID is a thing, may as well acknowledge it. Call up Sid's phone that she just called you from. But that phone is in fact here in the closet, with the ghost face costume and super voice changer. So only one thing to do, split up, so that they can regroup with the others. Somehow Gail knows to check the basement for Jen and Roman, but Roman is in the coffin! Meaning our dynamic duo is back together, Gail Weathers and Gail Weatherish. Fleeing in an attempt to regroup, they end up getting jumped by Angie. Hey, she's found some secret passages. But upon hearing that there is in fact a killer on the loose, she runs off on her own, which obviously results in her being slaughtered in short order. Oh wow, she was nothing but a red herring, you say, who could have guessed? Oh well, they reach Dewey again, as does the killer. Really not a good day.
What's going on? Oh shit!
But all these characters are far too important to kill just yet. Lucky for us, we have a nice, ripe, juicy Tyson right here, whom Ghostface stabs before he chases him down, murdering the fuck out of him. In all the commotion, Auxiliary Gail ran off in the secret passageways, and wouldn't you know it, it leads to a one-way mirror near the bedroom. Creepy. But not as bad as the killer coming. Or, well, it's actually kind of similar, actually.
You can't come out, the killer stabbed me! I'm the killer!
So she was scripted to die third, but also the killer. It sounds like a clue that the killer has already been killed now, doesn't it? Don't worry, Dewey can save her corpse. Oh well, it doesn't take long for the killer to get the jump on the real Gail before using her as bait to lure Dewey to his doom. But the killer just can't kill them now, no. First we gotta jump back over to Sydney, remember her? Has a whole film series about her. And a file that was secret, but somehow in Kincaid's office? No time for that now. She gets a call from the killer. He has Dewey and Gail, and if Sydney wants to keep them alive, well then she better get her butt down to the climax and tell no one about this. So she does, and finds her friends.
Sid.
Where is he?
I don't know.
He's right there!
And the bitch slap count rises. But Sid's got a gun, firing away at the killer, but not checking to make sure. That way, when he slips out of frame, he can still Batman away. And who would happen to appear instead but Kincaid? What's he doing here?
Where's your partner?
Same thing he's been doing all movie, fucking off out of frame, while Kincaid has to rely on Gail to get anything done. Seems unlikely Kincaid's the killer as he is attacked by Ghostface, but Sydney's still got that gun. She can miss and then use herself as bait to lure Ghostface away from the other potential victims. Slipping into those oh-so-convenient secret chambers, Sydney faces Ghostface all by her lonesome. Again, and we find out exactly who the killer is. The son of Raina Reynolds, Sydney's brother!
She shut me out in the cold forever. Her own son.
Roman! Man, who could have seen that one coming? I mean, except for the fact that Maureen was in Hollywood for 2 years, which is plenty of time to get pregnant and say fuck it and leave. And Roman is exactly the right age to be the product of that relationship. And he is a horror movie director, and is kind of what Ghostface does, and has had plenty of access to all the shit that Ghostface would have needed this whole movie. But oh yeah, gotta explain how Roman actually killed Maureen. Simple enough, he stalked her, filmed her, and presented Billy Loomis with the motive to do it with his director powers. Really lucky that kid turned out to be a psycho, otherwise that plan wouldn't have worked, would it? But he wouldn't be a Scream villain if he isn't blaming his crimes on someone else, and that someone is Sydney. The cops will think she found out about how Milton and friends had their way with Mommy and, well... And the reason her righteous rampage led her to kill everyone possible on set is because Millennium. And just for the record, no, your eyes do not deceive you. There is only one killer this time. Even though I'm going to have some words on that in a little bit, but yeah, Roman will be the hero, Sydney will be the slain evil, and they'll all live happily ever after. No, not live, but you get what I mean. So they fight, throwing and crashing and wrestling all over. Roman thinks he's got her, but that's nothing an ice pick to the back won't solve, and Sydney kills her brother. Therefore, Happy ending! The director is no more. Dewey proposes to Gail, and Sydney now feels so safe, she doesn't even care about leaving her door hanging open. Everything is perfectly fine. The end. So I'm assuming Scream 4 starts with an insanely high electric bill. Anyway, that was Scream 3. And it's not horrendously bad or anything, but I think there's a pretty good reason why it took people this long to say it wasn't. Mainly because it is still pretty bad. By Scream movie standards anyway, and you gotta admit those standards are pretty high. Still, the issues with production are very much felt throughout Scream 3. For being the big final send-off of the series, the third installment of a trilogy, hyping up how important that is, and yes, this is a trilogy, and this is the biggest and best one of all. Man, I feel for Wes and the job he had trying to cobble this together. From the fact that the writing was said to be so out of character Wes had to fix it himself, to how Sydney's more of a side character while we watch Gail and Dewey Adventure Hour. Now, we don't even get all that much artificial Sid, as she was set up as a red herring, and boy oh boy, ain't that another thing. The mystery of this movie is really not great, with one exception, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. Full disclosure, I have not seen Scream 4 or 5 yet, and it had been so long since I saw 3, the only thing I remembered was the Jay and Silent Bob scene. So I was practically watching this with a fresh mind, and man, the red herrings were painfully obvious red herrings. False Sid had so many arrows pointing her way, it was plain as day the movie was trying to get the viewer to suspect them, and Kincaid literally stood in front of a "I killed her" note. Somehow that was more subtle. The killers were also easy to figure out in my opinion, Roman being the obvious pick as director, being just the right age to be Maureen's second kid, and the death being off-screen shortly before we get a clue that the killer dies before we find out they're the killer. Yeah, pretty obvious. But another character that makes a lot of sense to be the killer/partner of the killer is Kincaid's partner, Wallace. There are a lot of things that go on, like Dewey's phone getting into police hands shortly before Sid is called and threatened. Kincaid isn't a killer, so how exactly did Roman steal the phone, use it, and put it back without anyone noticing? The file on Sydney, something Kincaid didn't have but magically appeared in his office, setting him up even more as a red herring. Also, Wallace was short, and in case some shots of Ghostface looked shorter than others, people might suspect the red herring Angelina, when it would work just as well as Wallace. Honestly, without Wallace being Roman's partner, the movie feels more like it has unexplained plot holes than a comprehensive mystery. At the end of the day, Scream 3 is a pretty tame, pretty basic take on Scream, in a setting that could and should have been a lot more creative and fun. Disappointing, but not abhorrent, coming in at 3 completely different scripts out of 5. And either I'm right about Wallace being planned as a second killer, or I'm a fucking idiot who can't stand being wrong about anything. Actually, is that a false dichotomy? Anyway, thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, just because trilogies are supposed to stop at 3, that doesn't mean you should set out to make something that will make sure that nobody will be asking for a 4th.
Oh shit, Salvo, it's that TV news chick, Connie fucking Chung. Hey Connie, how's Maury?